Welcome, nutritionradio.org listeners. This is Lonnie Lowry, University Nutrition Professor of over 20 years and podcast host of long-running shows like Iron Radio. Come on in. Hey, everybody. Well, welcome to another episode of Nutrition Radio. I'm Dr. Lonnie Lowry. I'm a food industry consultant and part-time professor, that sort of thing. And we've got Chrissy Schumacher again.
Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm a exercise science graduate and a current physical therapy assistant student.
Right on. Well, like usual, we've got our 4 segments for everybody today. We're going to start with food trends. Then we'll get into some other stuff, breaking science. And I think we're going to talk about the differences of coffee versus tea today. Then a little tip as far as some of these fitness and recipe or meal prep apps, whatever they are. And then we're going to wrap up with a recipe that Chrissy has. Let's start with this first one, the food trend.
Market news, food and fitness trends.
I got a piece recently from neurosciencenews.com, and it's not just from them. There's some university links here on sort of the concerns around soybean oil. If you're not familiar, this is a very, if not the most popular oil in the U.S., but it's got some concerns. In fact, here's some data from Mordor Intelligence. They're one of these food tracking firms, like industry type things. The soybean oil market is growing at a rate of 10.84% over the next 5 years. So it is rapidly growing. A lot of this is for like biofuels and that kind of thing, but of course some of it's for food reasons. I have been reading in the literature for years. We're concerned about soybean oil. It's a broad mix of different fats. No one fat is entirely just a monounsaturated fat or just a omega-6 polyunsaturated fat, right? Oils are made of different ones. Soybeans got a pretty broad range. But here we go. It says Americans' most widely consumed cooking oil causes genetic changes in the brain. It says soybean oil, the most widely produced and consumed edible oil in the U.S., could potentially impact neurological conditions like autism, Alzheimer's, anxiety, and depression. So this is a mouse study, but it revealed some pronounced effects on the hypothalamus, right? And that's, of course, the part of your lower brain, if you will, that regulates body temperature and a lot of hormone production, controls the pituitary gland and that kind of thing. It says the consumption of soybean oil was found to decrease the levels of oxytocin, also known as the love hormone, quote unquote, and affect about 100 other genes related to brain function. So key facts here from this piece, it says soybean oil, even when modified to be low in linoleic acid. So again, that could be one of the culprits causing the problems because that's an omega-6 fat that we overeat, right? It's pro-inflammatory, and we just go nuts on that in this country with like corn oil, safflower oil, and yes, soybean oil. Can have pronounced effects on the hypothalamus. Other things here, the study urges reduced consumption of soybean oil. And this is from University, California, Riverside. It says the research shows soybean oil not only leads to obesity and diabetes, it's really condemning there, but could also affect neurological conditions, again, like autism and Alzheimer's, anxiety, depression. It talks a little bit more about the effects on oxytocin. It says, do not throw out your tofu, edamame, etc., says Francis Sladek, a UCR toxicologist and professor of cell biology. This is on mice. I've seen other studies with researchers, showing concern about soybean oil. And I do think it brings up a good topic about the type of fats that we eat, not just the amount of fat or the calories from all that fat, but what kind are we consuming? It says the dogma is that saturated fat is bad and unsaturated fat is good. Soybean oil is a polyunsaturated fat. And again, yes, there's a little bit of omega-3 in there. There's some linoleic acid, but it's got a lot of omega-6 as well, the linoleic acid. It says, but the idea that it's good for you is just not proven, Sladek said. So, of course, you might hear people say coconut oil is saturated fat, but is that good for me? There's a lot of comments about the types of fat that we eat. But soybean oil has just been, it's just been under the gun a lot. And it is concerned that, again, it's growing at 10, 11%, the CAGR for the next 5 years. And it's very common in foods and for frying and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know what to say about this. The researchers are not digging on the soybean oil. I can say that I don't use soybean oil at home. I personally think one of the best things that you can do is get whatever random vegetable oil, generic looking vegetable oil out of your cupboards and get some olive oil in there, right? Because then you get the healthy monounsaturated fat and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what do you do for oils, Crystal? Do you pay attention to it much, or what do you do?
I have been paying much more attention more recently than I had in the past. We do use a lot of olive oil. I think in part that's because my fiance is Puerto Rican and that's just what they use for a lot of their foods.
Okay.
So I've kind of been taught recently to be using that.
Smart.
I also think it just doesn't sit as heavy. You know, depending on what you're cooking and stuff, vegetable oil, it just gets thicker and heavy. Olive oil has a thicker consistency, but it doesn't leave that thickness and residue as much as I've noticed that vegetable oil does.
Well, that's a good point. Sort of the culinary aspect of it too, right? Not just the health. Yeah. It's also a good point about cultural foods. You know, we'll have listeners chime in and say, I'm from Guatemala. Here's what we do. Or, you know, I'm from whichever region. In fact, I just did a little continuing education thing about all the different like Latino countries and what people eat in different regions within them or different parts of Europe. And it's a good point. Like maybe these cultures have landed on these oils because they're tastier, but also maybe healthier in the long run. Mm-hmm. You know, I know that Americans, for example, we consume way too much omega-6 compared to omega-3 polyunsaturated fats. And that's why, to the point in this article, when they say, oh, we say the unsaturated fats are healthy. Well, what do you mean? Because polyunsaturated omega-6, we way overeat that stuff. Corn oil, safflower oil, cottonseed oil. You know, these are pro-inflammatory oils. Some of them I call junk oils even because of the way that they're consumed or what products they end up in and, you know, French fries or whatever we're doing. Yeah, it's a simple thing. Of all the different little dietary supplements and stuff that my family takes, my mom or my wife and I think the kind of fat that we choose just up in the cupboard, that is probably equally or more important, you know, than some of these other expensive things. So focusing on stuff like monounsaturates, olive oil is the highest in that. There's quite a bit of monounsaturated percentage in like peanut oil or canola as well. But yeah, there's also other compounds in olive oil like hydroxytyrosol, some of these plant chemicals that are supposed to be heart healthy. So anyway, kind of disturbing stuff about soybean oil. And I only brought it up because I've seen it in other studies too. I'm not going to cite all of them, but kind of disturbing stuff. So you might want to keep an eye on what's in your cupboard, I guess is what I'm saying to listeners. What kind of fat's in your cupboard? I'm going to prefer olive oil unless you have some serious reason why you can't consume it. It's usually a good choice. Anyway, that's the food trend. All this soybean oil everywhere and how it could be affecting the brain in a negative way. That's kind of scary. But you had some science as well.
Breaking nutrition science. I did. So after we talked last week, I've been more avid to going towards tea more recently than not. And so I was thinking both of them have caffeine. So overall, what would be better for us, coffee or tea? And we had talked a little bit about the general health effects from just drinking coffee in itself, not even looking at the caffeine intake and things like that. So I was looking, and I can't find my original research article that I was using, but the Washington Post also recently posted about coffee versus tea as like a smackdown battle over the different health benefits and things like that it talks about. And it talks about how coffee drinkers get more fiber, microbiome health, and lowering their risks for cancers and diabetes. But tea is good for general blood pressure, cholesterol, stress levels, mental health, and productivity, things like that. So I was just wondering, you know, kind of just, and I know obviously you are a huge advocate for coffee. I was just kind of trying to go into more research about what individually would be better, or if it, you know, just kind of depends on the individual and their biochemical makeup.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Black tea usually black tea has about half the caffeine of coffee. But it also has theophylline, which is another stimulant-like compound. And I think it's the reason people get a similar boost out of their tea as they do their coffee. Like coffee, though, tea isn't just one thing, I mean, there's so many different kinds. Like green tea is going to have theanine. And sometimes I'll even supplement theanine. It's an unusual amino acid that has sort of cognitive benefits. It's relaxing, but it stacks well with caffeine, which there's a little bit of caffeine in tea, like we said. So theanine is something that I think at least mostly green tea would bring to the table that coffee would not. Mm-hmm. So it's a good point that the health effects are going to differ a little, I guess.
Yeah. I think something else too, and we had talked about it a little bit, is like how the person makes their tea. Like when I'm drinking tea, I drink it plain, no sugar, nothing added to it. I know some people will add not necessarily creamers, but like there's sweeteners and things that get added to teas as well. And then, breaking down if it's green tea, if it's black tea, if it's, herbal tea, if it's processed teas, things like that. Mm-hmm. It just was something that I thought was interesting.
Yeah. I wouldn't think, and I wouldn't want anybody who listens to nutrition radio or whatever to think that I'm all about coffee and I just forget about tea. That's not true. I'm quite a fan of tea. I think it's probably next to water the most drank beverage in the world. I mean, coffee's up there too, of course, but there's lots of countries that prefer tea, and I do think it's a huge source of antioxidants and that kind of stuff. And especially if you're not eating your fruits and vegetables, at least you have coffee or tea. I think they're going to be different antioxidants, but they're both going to be really helpful, just to kind of get that sort of that health boost in the morning while you wake up, Yeah. Cool. Okay.
A listener question of the week.
Next up. So we don't have a listener question this week, but in our next little slot here, we have an option for tips if there's no good listener questions. You said you were looking at some fitness or meal apps, something along those lines.
Yeah. So more recently than not, with everything with COVID and things, I know there's been a skyrocket for at-home workout programs and things like that. And I actually have a friend of mine who was actually a graduate from On as well. She has been very much an advocate for the Sweat app.
Sweat. Okay.
Sweat. SWEAT. And basically this app is a nutrition plan, a workout plan, a daily log. It is everything that you would get if you were at the gym with a personal trainer, but in an app at home. And I mean, when I tell you religiously, every morning, the exact same time, up, doing her workouts, following this meal plan that was provided her. And she felt amazing, looked amazing. Basically what this program is there's, for the workout aspect of it, there's different trainers that have been licensed physical trainers, and then for the nutritional aspect, the dietitians that were hired for this app and programming.
Okay.
They go through different plans. There's a list of different exercises. It's broken down by beginners, equipment, non-equipment, kind of just to fit your personal lifestyle. There's different challenge goals for fitness that you can participate in. You can do group activity challenges where, you can invite your friends, you can invite other people that are using the app, and you can basically challenge each other and just progress your fitness and see how it compares with other people. I have used it for quite a bit of time. I don't pay for it by the year as she does. I still need a little bit more discipline than that, so I play it by monthly. There's a free aspect to it too. It just doesn't include the meal prep plan and everything like that.
Okay.
But it's not the only app as well. And I mean, these apps can get expensive, but they don't have to be. There's another app called Fit On, and that primarily is workout app.
All right.
There is also a dietary program attached to that as well. I use this app more often than I use this app. Again, just my lifestyle right now. Mm-hmm. It's easier just to do the Fit On app as far as getting myself back into working out and things like that. But it's very similar. There's videos that play a workout session with this trainer. You can do group things. So I think just in general, these apps are becoming more popular. And I don't know, I think they're extremely helpful, especially since, again, a lot of people for the longest time were closed out of their gyms. So I don't know. I just thought, for people that are still looking or trying to get back into it, or like, I don't want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do all this stuff. There's apps out there that can help you at your own pace, at your house, at your time. And I think it's really amazing that these are becoming more and more, affordable, but more popular as well.
Do you have prices on these things at all, or ballpark even what they cost?
Yeah, so there's an app, the Sweat app. Let me pull it up.
So it could be per month or per year, you said?
Yeah, so it could be per month or per year. I believe the Sweat app is around, you don't have to pay when you download it, but I think it can get up to like 100 to 150 depending on which program you're using a year. Breaking it down by month, I think it was 16 to 18 a month when I first started looking into it.
Okay, here's one that says, the only workout app I use in the gym, the Sweat app review, cost $19.99 per month or $119 per year. But that's from 2021.
So it might have gone up a little bit, but I can't imagine it going up too much. There's another app, it's called OMO, O-M-O. That is $19.99 a month. For 12 months, it's $59.99, or 3 months is $29.99. So the longer you pay for it by month, the more expensive it's going to be if you pay for the 12 months at a time. Obviously, it'll be cheaper. That's how they get you in. Mm-hmm. It's just honestly and truly more up to what you're financially able to do, but also your discipline.
Okay, so question.
Yes.
As an exercise science graduate, well, two things. Are the programs good, in your opinion? Is the advice good? And number two, are these apps going to replace personal trainers?
So, as far as the quality of the apps, I will have to say the three of them those are the three that I've personally tried, and I do like them. They can get a little bit repetitive sometimes, but honestly and truly, that's just kind of how fitness works. A lot of times you are doing the same things over and over. Like I said, the programmings themselves, you can customize it to fit where your personal level is. There's beginning programmers, there's specific for high intensity workouts, there's specific for soccer players and things like that. So the quality itself, and they're coming from personal trainers, I find to be, up to par. It's helped me get a little bit more variety in my gym workouts as well, which is nice because they do things that I just wouldn't have thought about doing.
What kind of exercises, Chrissy? Like, is this calisthenic type things? Like, what are you doing? Is it weights? What do they have you do? Because I honestly don't know.
So they have a whole bunch of different stuff. I'm pulling up my app right now, and they have warm-up stretches, cool-down stretches, strengthening, like quick abs, glute burning, upper body strengthening without weights, upper body strength with weights. If you're at home, they tell you, you know what, you don't have a weight, you don't have a kettlebell, go get a gallon of milk or something. They have meditation. If you're a dancer, they have dance-based, so like a Zumba class, yoga. They have a whole bunch. Let me pull up one of the cardio programs, and they're rated by different intensities. So this is a 20-minute medium, low-pec intensity cardio blast. And basically, it's a lot of jumping. It'll be a lot of stretching, but you're at home with it. You don't have to go run on a treadmill. You don't have to go run outside. So they have you do a number of things. Quick hits. There's bar. There's high intensity interval training. Circuits. There's this one which app am I on? I'm on the Fit On app, and there's 72 different versions of workout programs that have been preset.
Okay.
So they do it all.
Yeah, when I think about this stuff, I think about those almost like insanity kinds of workouts, that are, I don't know, jumping jacks and burpees and all these kind of what I would call calisthenics, in my old man mind.
They do have a lot, so.
It sounds like to me then, instead of replacing personal trainers, the personal trainer would then be hired by the app company to design these workouts.
Yes.
Like the role of the personal trainer, the role of the exercise science person would just be different, right? They're not working one-on-one with the client as much. They're building the programs that the app then reaches the actual person. So the person's interacting with the app, not a trainer.
Correct.
That could be good for someone who I think is more shy, or introverted in some way. They just don't want to, because one of the things I never liked about personal training, frankly, is that sometimes it feels like it's just a cheerleader kind of job. I don't like reducing. You're supposed to be doing screenings and assessments and programming, and instead it's just, come on, 2 more reps. You can do it. And it just sounds a little bit more like a cheerleader kind of thing. So maybe these apps they can provide some of that. Hopefully, though, the qualified exercise scientists and dietitians are creating the programs, and it sounds like they are.
Yes. And that, like I said, is the nice thing. And again, for somebody that, especially during COVID, all of us couldn't go to the gym and stuff. So I think they hit a huge benefit from
Good point. Yep, during COVID.
Apps had just skyrocketed because for fitness gurus, they're not going to sit at home and do nothing. So why not follow a program, that you can do out?
No, I did that. I saw hard data, that COVID was spreading big time in gyms. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going to go to the gym for a while, and I was just trying to struggle along at home. I mean, I'm educated in this, but I'm just doing what I can with the barbell and the little bench, like utility bench I have at home, and trying to do my thing, but yeah, it really shut things down hard. So I think it kind of forced us forward a lot, with the popularity when people couldn't go to the gym at all. Okay. And you know what? And like you said, if it helps you build structure, like your friend or you, like if you're going to be more compliant because of this, then that's good. It sounds like it's cheaper. If it's $20 a month, and let's say it's half that much if you sign up for a year, whatever. I know it depends on the company, but yeah, I mean, that could be a good thing. Okay. Yeah, and I appreciate the actual brand names and some of the prices and stuff. We have one more segment, everybody, and that is Rant Review Recipe.
Rant product review or recipes.
And this week we've got a recipe from Chrissy. What do you got?
So I follow TikTok. I follow this lady on TikTok who does all kinds of meal prep. It's called Planted in the Kitchen. You can find her on Facebook as well. She also has her own website, so Planted in the Kitchen. And one of my favorite recipes that I found was a chia seed overnight oat. And I've been on a nutsy kind of kick lately, and chia seeds are good just due to the large amount of nutritional benefits that they have for you. It's one of the, considered health foods. And I do mine with usually like an almond milk. So the recipe that I follow is 3/4 cup of old-fashioned oats. I do get the ones with they're like high protein oats, but also the uncooked whole oats. A tablespoon of the chia seeds, a cup and a fourth, so a cup 0.25 of the plant-based milk that you use, and then a 4th cup of any plant-based yogurt. Most recipes will call for a Greek yogurt. I am just not a big fan of Greek yogurt, so I will use like a light and fit or high protein, just plain or vanilla yogurt. And what you're going to do basically is you're going to create this almost like a chia seed pudding for part of it, and then you're going to mix the pudding with the yogurt and overnight oats and sit it. And I always top mine off with some type of fresh fruit. Sometimes I add honey to it just to make it a little bit more sweet, but still healthier, depending on my mood. I've actually got my sister to really enjoy them, and she puts chocolate chips in it, but she's also 13, so it is what it is.
Right.
But it's just something that is quick and easy. I will make it for 3 or 4 days, and I don't really worry about it getting soggy because it's not a textural thing for me. Some people who are a little bit more texture maybe just do it for a night or two because the oats will get pretty soggy. But honestly, it's probably one of my favorite recipes that I have found from her. It's so good. It's super easy. And like I said, I can do it for a couple days in advance, so all I have to do is cut up the fruit the same day that I'm prepping all of the overnight oats, put them in my container, add the fruit when I'm leaving, or, if I'm sitting down for breakfast that day, if I have time, pop the fruit in there, and I'm good to go.
No, that's cool. Now, I haven't used chia seeds much. They lend themselves to puddings and forming a gel and stuff, right? Because like the soluble fiber and whatnot. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you don't like Greek yogurt.
I don't.
Okay, because I tend to lean in that way only because it's got more protein than other yogurts, right?
Yeah.
But then you could spike this kind of thing with other nutrients, I suppose, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think about throwing protein powder in it and stuff,
Well, no, and so she'll do another recipe that she does is like parfaits, and I lean towards like the chia seed parfaits and things like that, and she actually puts superfood powders in them, which, remember last week, that was my topic that I was interested in. She's actually the reason why.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of her overnight oats, her parfaits, her breakfast smoothies, things like that, she uses these superfood powders.
Yeah, well, I'm looking up right now, just looking at Healthline.com on like a high-level view here, but it says even chia seeds has a lot of these plant compounds. Chlorogenic acid, we talked about that in coffee, quercetin, camphorol, some omega-3 fats and the fiber and that kind of stuff. What's your draw toward some of these things? Is it just a convenience? Is it the plant, like the phytochemicals? Is it the fiber? What's appealing to you?
Honestly, it's better than eating a Pop-Tart every morning, which is what I was doing.
Okay.
Personally, I'm just trying to eat better. I have a wedding and stuff coming up, and also I want to feel better. I love fresh fruits, and I'm a sucker for anything quick and easy but still healthy. So I'm just trying to do better. I've always liked chia seeds. I used to make these I don't know how much protein really realistically was in it, but I'd make like frozen protein balls that I would use while I was in school with like peanut butter, oats, and then I'd roll it around in like the chia seeds or even like flax seeds and things like that. I've really always enjoyed them. I also just feel like, as far as chia seeds go, they're overlooked a lot for something that has such high nutritional content, but has like very little as far as like substance that you need to actually ingest. You don't have to eat a lot, and they don't really have flavor. So whatever you cook it with will pick up the flavor that you have.
Okay. Yeah, here I'm looking at this article. It says the carbs, 83% of the carbs are just from fiber. So it does sound like, and it's even fermentable fiber, some of the soluble fiber there, which could be good for like prebiotic, healthy for your gut health and microbiota and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I admit I have not really jumped onto that bandwagon, but I love the idea, by the way, of overnight oats. I know I can do that. I always cook my oatmeal in the morning, and I'm thinking, why do I do this? I just need to pull the trigger and try it. Like, just make it up the night before, put it in the fridge. I've soaked beans before. I don't know why I haven't really gone the extra mile and, done some overnight oats or played around with chia seeds and that kind of stuff, because it does look like a good addition to the diet. Okay. Well, cool stuff. Food trends. We did the science on coffee versus tea, some meal planning and exercise apps, and even the recipe. So I guess that's a little shorter episode this week, but that's cool. That's what's going on in the news. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Everybody, next week I'm going to be traveling. You're still going to get an episode. I'll just do some solo stuff for the first couple of topics. And then we do have a pre-recorded rant from Crystal about insurance companies. If you roll your eyes about insurance companies, you're going to get that next week a little bit. So, okay. Well, that's it, everybody. And we'll see you next time.
The NutritionRadio.org podcast is for informational purposes only. If you're interested in starting a diet or exercise program, check with your physician, nutritionist, or qualified exercise physiologist in order to make the progress that you need.